It's the Professional Lovers in Training, Patty and
Al.
here again, another episode of Married at First Sight, week number 6. Not a whole lot to talk about, but a few issues.
Yeah, definitely issues.
One major issue was the whole idea of differences and how we talk about differences, especially differences that could cause conflict. Like one person's messy, admittedly, the other person is very neat. And the couples had varying periods during the honeymoon where those kind of issues came up.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting to see how some couples handled that kind of discussion and other couples handled it differently. Some more in a positive way and others in a not so positive way.
For the most part, all in communicating styles. Because again, by not knowing the person, you can only go on what they say and how they say what they say. And this is only 7 days.
Right. Well, 6 days. Well, yeah, from day 5 through day 7 on the honeymoon. Like tonight's episode, I mean.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Starting at about day 5
right.
and then going through to day 7.
Yeah. So you don't really know what it's like to live with a person. You're with that person. Yeah, you overnight, you spend a night, but it's still all new and just getting to know the nuances of a person, their character, their habits.
And that's what they're getting ready to go into. So some of the discussion was, so what do you think it's going to be like when we have to really start living together? We're not on an island having fun. Right. We're back to real life. And what do you think that's going to look like? What are your expectations? And so, yeah. So I like the way that, Austin and Jessica. Mm-hmm. Talking about the fact that Austin's mom said, well, he really is messy. And she's a very neat person. Mm-hmm. And it was just brought out in discussion. Yeah. And she didn't make a big deal about it. And when they were talking about what do you think it's going to be like living together, and she says, well, your mom did say this about mm-hmm. you, and this is how I am, but I just have to give you time and learn to adapt. And she complimented him on not leaving the toilet seat up during the honeymoon.
But even in discussion, you can feel how susceptible a person is and open to compromise.
Right.
Just through discussion. Mm-hmm. As opposed to dictating is a harsh word, but...
No, Mika was dictating, okay? Let's just put it out there. Mika and Michael. They have not spent any of their honeymoon together. They've been in separate rooms because of an argument they had on the very first day as they were... flying to their honeymoon, but they've spent the time not hanging with all of the other couples mm-hmm. as much. They've done it a couple times, and it was awkward. So when the couples tonight went out on a day excursion together as a group, mm-hmm. Mika and Michael stayed back, and they decided to spend the day just with each other, trying to get to know each other. All the other couples have been able to do some of that on the honeymoon, and they have not done any of that on the honeymoon. So tonight they spent the time with the two of them just getting to know each other. So their comfort level rose, mm-hmm. and as they get back, they decide to spend the night together. Mm-hmm. And when they're in discussion and talking about, what do you think it's going to be like when we have to live together, especially since we've had this kind of trouble already. Yeah. My girl broke out a list. Well, this is what you need to do. You need to,
if you get up early, if you get up early, don't wake me up, and it's not that difficult to dress in the dark.
I mean, if you need to tiptoe, you need to tiptoe. Don't turn the light on, and it's not that hard to dress in the dark. What? You need to Most of the bed is mine. You can have a little corner. Now, even if that was said in jest, I don't think it was. But even if that, most of the bed is mine. You need to sleep. You'll have a little corner. And she just went on and ticked off about five, six things that she expected him to do. Again,
that's not how you
approach that kind of
or formulate a bond with somebody. I mean, you're not anybody's child.
There's no mama and daddy's here.
Exactly.
And your spouse is not your child. There are no children here.
Yeah.
But I tend to think that there are quite a few, and we're not talking about women after you have a child and you get into this parenting mode, and sometimes it's hard to get out of that when you're dealing with the spouse because you've been doing that all day with the children. This is pre-children. So Mika is she's an alpha female. We've said that before.
Yeah. She said that. And so this was a straight up example This is an unveiling
of her alphaness. And so to me that was just handled poorly.
Yeah.
It's off-putting.
Yeah.
To create a list of demands that you will do this. Not this is what I like, this is what I prefer, but this is what you need to do. That is not the right approach.
And even for Michael, who has been raised and surrounded by women all of his life, I don't believe that he's one who is... He's not a mama's boy. I don't think he's going to be willing to be run by a woman. I believe he's in it for a partnership.
Well, but he's treading lightly right now, though.
Yeah.
Because they have not had the kind of honeymoon that they thought they were going to have. Mm-hmm. And so he just listened until she told him it's not hard to dress in the dark. And he was like, okay, I'm okay with the other stuff, but that one, we're going to have to work that out. Yeah, we're going to have to work that out. And so, but again, it's the delivery and it's the realization that this is not just about you anymore. And that was the other thing that came out with Katie and Derek. Katie was talking about not being used to spending all 24/7 with somebody else, like they were doing on the honeymoon. Mm-hmm. And of course, when they get back to DC, that's not going to happen. But this idea of I need to have some alone time to be able to process my thoughts and my feelings about, where we are, what we're doing. She gave an example of getting up and jumping in the shower, and he jumped in with her, and she was like, oh.
She was anticipating that moment.
But those few minutes by herself.
Right.
And what's funny is that reminded me of our first argument. So our first silent argument as a married couple was around this particular issue. It had snowed. Now, he worked in D.C.
I almost forgot what it was about.
He worked in D.C. I worked in Baltimore.
And we lived in the middle.
And we lived in the middle in Columbia, Maryland. Mm-hmm. And so it's a work day. His job shuts down because of the weather. My job did not shut down, but I had the option of going in or not. So because his job shut down, we're newlyweds. I'm like, hey, we can spend the day together. And so I called out of my job. I decided not to go in. He copped an attitude. And I'm thinking, why the attitude? Here we are newlyweds. And I mean, literally newlyweds. We got married in October. So this is kind of like anywhere in the winter months. Mm-hmm. So that could be in Maryland area, DC.
December, January, February.
November, December, January. Somewhere in there. So we're really newlyweds. And I was all ready to have a cuddle in snow day in our apartment with my new husband. And he got an attitude.
I was ready for a veggie day. I was ready for the empty box day.
Okay, if you don't know what that means, so if you ever heard of Mark Gungor, he talks about the difference between how women think and men think. And we touched on this like maybe in our first or second video. But he describes women's thought processes as being
intertwined.
The information circuitry. Highway. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a circuitry. Everything is connected and everything is right? Men, on the other hand, he describes their processes as boxes. Everything has its own box. And when you think about that one thing, you open that box, think about it, then you shut it. And one of those boxes is an empty box.
A nothing
box. Where,
just like when a lady or your significant other, wife, girlfriend asks you, what are you doing? And a guy will ultimately say,
or what are you thinking about?
What are you thinking about?
Nothing. Now, to us, there's no such thing as thinking of nothing.
It is to us.
Okay, so he was ready to be in his nothing box all day. Bottom line, he got an attitude, and I spent the day in our bedroom, and he spent the day in the living room because we were in an apartment.
And don't be judging me. I know y'all out there, don't worry about it. It was a moment.
Look, newlywed husband wanted to spend the day by himself. I'm just saying. Anyway,
we started off as individuals,
but that's and that's the discussion, and that's kind of where Katie was taking it as far as coming back and getting into the real world and living together. When you've been by yourself a long time, you get used to your routines.
Right. You have your ways.
Everybody you have your ways, and you're not used to spending that with somebody else all the time.
Right.
And there are a lot of couples who experience that in the beginning and adjust and find out, hey, I really do like spending time with this person that I married. And everybody has their, moments where they need some solitude. Mm-hmm. And I don't have a problem with that. I was just a gung-ho newlywed wife wanting to spend time with her husband because we worked on opposite ends of where we lived. Anyway, but then there are some couples who take that too far and they spend more time by themselves than they do together. Mm-hmm. As in, they spend more intentional time by themselves rather than together.
They end up spending more default time.
And that's what we call it, default time. Because we're married, I'm going to see you because we live in the same house and we sleep in the same bed. So I'm going to see you at home. We're going to eat at home. But are we spending intentional time together? And that's the key. Okay. So anyway, so all of these adjustments are going on. Another difference that came out was social media. Yeah. And today that's a huge one. Yeah. We have that kind of difference as well. And that's one thing Mika said, when we're having a conversation, your phone is down. I don't like people being on their phones when I'm talking to them. So the phone is out. Okay. Again, that was demanding. And it's a difference that, you can't just say, this is what you're supposed to do. Yeah. I even I've heard situations where wives say, when I go to bed, he has to go to bed. Okay, and I go to bed at 9 o'clock, the TV's off, he has to come to bed with me. Again, this ain't your child. True. And that's a huge difference between us. I'm a morning person, he is a night person. I have to be in bed by 10, by 9:30 sometimes my eyes are closing. He, on the other hand, could stay up until 1 or 2 o'clock. And so early on in our marriage, if I had to go to bed, good night, honey. And I went to bed, and he came to bed whenever he did. It was great when we had a child because he could do the late night feedings because I'm sleeping, and then I could get up in the early morning and do the feedings. So what I'm saying is there are going to be differences, and how you manage and navigate those differences will set a tone for how you deal with each other. Mm-hmm. And the couples who have navigated that the best in past seasons are couples who just let it evolve, who don't take offense, who don't talk about it in an accusatory type of manner, who
are observant,
who are observant and realize that compromise is paramount.
It's part of the package. I mean,
especially in this situation,
in marriage.
Yes, but I'm just saying, because they're strangers, when they got a lot of this kind of stuff, you start working out when you're dating.
Yeah, true.
And they're having to work it out already married, and so that's what I'm saying. Especially in this situation, compromise is paramount. Yeah. So Taylor is a social media person. Brandon is not, but I like the way he talked about that difference as well. He said in his past relationships, the girls seem to be on social media simply for likes, so it's very superficial.
That was their life.
That was their life. He felt that they were fake, and but he, in saying that, did say, "But I don't think you're like that." He prefaced it
right, that this is not what I'm saying about you,
right?
But this is what he's been accustomed to,
right? But and he gave her kudos. You are a person who can put your phone down,
and enjoy
and enjoy our time together. And so something that could have been off-putting, like how Mika came at Michael, was not, because Brandon, assured her that he didn't see her that way, and appreciated her giving them time without her phone. But did say, I'm not a social media person, and I kind of am not either. Even just doing this every week is a lot of work for me. But I think it's
even
valuable.
Even as natural as she sounds.
Even as natural as I sound, this is just really kind of not my thing. But I think it's I think it's valuable, and I think we're just discussing it. I think is a valuable thing, even for us.
True.
Because we're kind of having fun doing this.
This isn't just for y'all. This is for us.
Right. This is for us too. Believe me. What else? Was there anything else? Oh, Zach and Mindy. Yeah. Zach, what do you... Okay, Zach is the guy with the beautiful hair. And that's always in place. Even when they went swimming, the guys are like, his hair, every strand was in place. But Zach is having a hard time because he is not physically attracted to his wife.
My personal opinion is I don't think Zach has had many valued relationships and being able to share himself, because in his attempt to express what he's supposed to be feeling toward Mindy always comes around to how
she feels about him.
Mindy feels about him.
Yeah, it's always about him.
And he's not putting it in, he's not couching it in, well, what do you think about me? But how do you feel about this situation that, I have to.
He's the one having the problem.
He is.
He's the one having a problem, but in discussing the problem, it's always, I'm having this issue. I don't know how to respond. What do you think I should be doing to help me
form an attraction to you?
What? Okay.
I mean, even for a guy, that's too much guy.
He talks in circles. He never answers a question right on. It's like he can never be extremely direct, except for saying, I have to build an attraction to you, which is actually saying, I'm not attracted to you. And he seems clueless as to
how that makes a person feel.
He's totally oblivious.
I mean, this is a woman that you married. Now, nobody's ugly.
And he's not saying she's ugly.
No.
He has said that she's, that she's beautiful, that she's pretty. But you can tell it's just not what he's used to attracting, because he's so buff and he's so perfect. He's a model. you know,
Really,
and you really believe
I
that
really
all
don't
of
believe that
his
he has had
relationships have
valued
been,
relationships.
and you use the word superficial.
Yeah.
That his relationships have been so superficial and so on a physical level that he doesn't know how to
Emote.
he doesn't
Feelings.
even know how to become attracted to someone other than physical
Yeah, that's the appearance.
at this point. That's what it seems like.
And the thing about it, everybody else has picked up on his need to be as attractive as he is accustomed to being. I mean, you know, even in the water, your hair is, but his hair
was slicked back perfectly.
In the water, in the ocean. I mean, well. Whatever.
Anyway, so he's really struggling. And of course, she's struggling because she's not getting anything emotional from him.
Yeah.
And
again, this is a
along with him telling her, "I'm not attracted to you."
Yeah.
And that bothered me because there have been in other seasons couples where the physical attraction was not there. Mm-hmm. But I don't remember. But the ones who kind of got over that, Jamie and Doug being numero uno, in the first season, she was so not attracted to him.
Had a meltdown.
But she never told him that.
Right.
She was.
This is how she was feeling.
She was conservative. She was a little, squirmish. And he just, kind of took it, was patient, and it got to him under his skin sometimes. But she allowed him to be who he was, and she let herself see his character and the family bond that he had that she wanted so badly.
She became receptive to his whole person.
And once she did that, the physical attractiveness grew because she allowed herself time. And tonight, as Mindy was talking to one of the experts said, we don't match you according to physical attractiveness and attraction. We match you based on your core values and what you say is important to you. And physical attraction can be an outgrowth of being attracted to someone's character and the essence of who they are. But right now, Zach ain't feeling that, and Mindy ain't feeling him right now. So
unfortunate.
But in our book, we always got to tell you about our book, Becoming a Professional Lover. We've got a couple of chapters in there. Respecting each other's needs and ideas is important. When you respect each other's needs, you're not going to make a demanding list or a list of demands that you have to do this. You are about seeing how you can respect the differences that are there, especially the ones that can cause conflict, and come to a compromise. There are some differences that in the scheme of other things are unimportant.
Totally.
And you and I talked about that a little bit. Our own difference of me liking his dirty clothes going in the hamper and his penchant for piling them on top or at the floor.
I throw it at the basket.
Look, yes, it annoys me. It has annoyed me more in the past than it does now because after 26 years, in the scheme of things, how big of a deal is that really? But everybody has their own limits of, where those differences can take them. But compromise is necessary. What's another one? Togetherness in work and play will keep you bonded. That whole idea of intentional time together and limiting the distractions that keep that from happening.
And it can occupy your time if you allow it. It can occupy your day.
And social media is one of those distractions that can drive a wedge between couples. But, again, you want to spend intentional time. Doesn't have to be all the time. You can go out with your boys, you can go out with your girls, but you want to spend more intentional time together than not together.
True.
In order to keep that bond
You
strong.
want to spend more time intentionally with your spouse than putting more intentional time into something else.
Right. That's
or
a good way of
somebody
putting
else.
it. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
And so there you go. I think that's all we have to talk about tonight.
Yeah.
I think next week, when they start moving in together and living together, you're going to see some real fireworks start. And we'll have a lot more to talk about.
Yeah. A little more in depth.
Until then, though, have a great rest of the week, and we will see you next week.
Peace.
Peace.
Enjoy.